Okay, so I'm gonna do a video about what happened to me. Also, it's gonna go back over the Bible, why I feel like it's almost not in a good way. And why is it not in a good way? Because what they did to me was kind of bull crap. Okay, so, and it's not funny actually. I was probably like chased around to try to get into seek some help type of thing. Well, I'll try to explain it to you. Right, and also that my Bible is kind of like changed. And they always said it was your perception or the woman's perception or the male's perception, whatever, and supposedly kicking them out of like the garden, but it turned into a prison basically. Or they can't just kick out the snake, but they had to attack them till basically they got out and they were living in what I'd call an outside prison, like because you can't um, work where you're supposed to or where you want to, and say things like human trafficking was one. I couldn't say no to that. Then they chased you around from job to job. They try to put you with different people, and they try to starlight image. So, for example, like I'm being chased around, life is getting hard for me. The other person really wouldn't know anything about that because you're really happy when you're with them. And then they just image shot each one, like in a different way to try to do those things. Because when I got back here, um, you know, a lot of things I started noticing there was a lot of emojis on my phone. I'm gonna get into where it changed, like even biblically, where they were talking about how we were all animals, which is we're not, but the whole thing, like I can go through this now and it's not in a good way. So like the one part of the Bible I was gonna go into was the part where they're like talking about in the belly shall flow living waters, and then they gave like horrible, horrible, attacks on your mental status and everything, all those kinds of things, until basically it turned into a fairy baby rape, or whatever you want to call it. And that's to stop you from, if you were, in the United States and you were with somebody who is like you in the United States, and they want to break it up, because basically, like how I got this new Bible, this is supposedly a King James Bible. I went down to try to pick up a new Bible because I started getting mad as they were attacking me. I started shredding every Bible that I had. But I used to have a really old Bible. I left that somewhere. I think I left it after my visit in Mexico the second time. So, but even though it's like may be like the same, you'll see I'll show you where it's changed. And even I know this without even being able to verify it, because they try to use like a lot of stars and terrorism. I couldn't even get this Bible anywhere. I couldn't even find a Bible. I tried to go to Target and it was Pokemon everything. I tried to go to, and this is what I said, a lot of emoji stuff started popping up on my phone. Seriously, in the last administration, they really, really had their chance to say no to human trafficking. Even though a lot of it, I didn't even notice because it was, I was doing fine. They probably expected me to end up in a mental institution for the shit they did, but I already knew it once it hit restaurant type things, which is the only place like that they would have me work, because everything else is robotic and they do everything for a check. That's why they would kick you out supposedly of the garden out of a happy life so they can make jobs on a fake precept, but leave you in like an outside prison where you can't really do anything about it. Like, it's that frustrating. So this whole video, and it's not a short video, is about my experience, and then I'm going to go through where they did it in the Bible, because I found a lot of it. and I'm going to stick, I can go back and forth and confirm it from one edge to the middle to the last. But honestly, a lot of the generation before us and the generation before them, when they hear what people say, for example, they're living okay, and to fix, replace the baby boomers, they hear someone say something like that doesn't sound normal. They immediately assume that they need to go somewhere, or they're wrong. You know what I mean? Because they're not living what they tried to do to the Bible, what they tried to like seriously change, and it would stop you from protecting from your own family. Basically, they're not perceiving that. Like, parents, especially women, technically live upon what the TV sometimes says, or what other people say. It's like a stars and terrorisms type thing, where for some it's terrorism. Like, for some girls that are really getting pushed off into these places where it's just going to be like, no, actually, we decided that you're supposed to be with a black man, you're supposed to be with a Latino guy, and you're supposed to be with an Asian person. Like, just controlling so bad, even if you were inside of a good relationship. And the bad relationships they ignored. Like, they let that go on for many years. They knew it was caused by trafficking on one. The other side is kind of like a witchy necromancy thing that they do, and they kind of set it up in company where it would be applied to you. So if you go to a company, like, some types of things would be applied to you. You have to take this type of harassment, even though they say no harassment. Or it would be literally with the technology that we have. And we do have a lot of technology. We have drone capabilities. We have a lot of things like that. And so to secure your job over love or anything like that, they will put people in these situations and separate them. And that creates what you call like an outside prison, and it's totally flipping it. Like, if I went to the first whatever Genesis thing and I tried to read it to you, the way they've done it, they basically, let's see, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of Genesis. Do what it says there, but write the opposite. For example, number 3, God said, "Let there be light," and then the stealers of light came. Basically, it would be like taking everything that's truthful and honest and like giving them brainwash, and they steal that light. Number 4, God divided the light from the darkness. Well, now the void, because of what they did, the void becomes light. So what's basically voided out and notwithstanding becomes the light for them. And they called the day, God called the day and the night. Well, now day is night. So, you get that with a lot of places where they're just all brainwashed. It's all like party this, party that, but then like, oops, my bad. But then I lived that whole thing, but I kept myself. I tried to keep myself, faithful even to a person who hated me, because I did not want to go through what the hell they were going to put me through. And that is weird. I know it's odd, but even with a person that was from another country who was absolutely frustrated for what happened, or frustrated for being in this thing, it just doesn't seem right. Because what they do is they try to change something all the time to include another group of people, like that whole coexist thing. Like I said, I couldn't even go Target buy a Bible. I couldn't go like hardly anywhere. I couldn't find it. I tried to like, give what was already taken, I guess, buy what was taken. I couldn't really find one. And so I'm just going to start off with my story, and then I will get into where they changed it in the Bible. And this is not a good thing. This is not a good thing at all, because it really makes me mad. And I'm going to bring up, your belly should flow with living waters. I mean, I mean, this whole thing, they had their chance really to say no to human trafficking. Couldn't say no to human trafficking. So on one side, they would put you with someone who is trafficking, but they get to open up a business. I was only offered once during this to replace, the whole baby boomer decorate age wants to open up a business, and that had to do with television and what you see. The Orion's belt. So that these people, your moms, your fathers, when they give their kids phones and stuff, they won't know that they're being stalked. They won't know. They'll think it's totally normal, like they're taking care of them. And then it'll just be like, I live my DreamWorks dream, and then, watch TV. And that's the only thing you can sell. You can sell from Orion's belt. You can sell from these things that really have nothing in them. While at the same time, they're probably terrorizing somebody else, because I'm going to show you that they put stars and terrorisms now in the Bible so that you wouldn't be able to protect your family. If you were smart enough to know something was off, you likely would be harassed. And it's that bad. So I'm going to go ahead and post this with all of these things basically laid out. I'll start off with what happened to me. And I'll start off with when I got back. And right now, all my identification is missing, because I leave shit lying around in the garage. But because that's where I kind of feel comfortable, and people put stuff in there too. But I was just like, now my stuff is gone. My identification's gone and stuff like that. So I'm going to go with number 1 so that you kind of understand why I'm saying this is not a good thing when I'm preaching the Bible today. It is not a good thing. So what they did was they tried to come back around with something, and it's not good. Because when I started really noticing that what they were trying to do to the Bible, I started tearing up my Bible. It wasn't fitting. People weren't fitting. I could stand next to people and they would just start talking oddly, but they would not notice anything's wrong, and they go straight to the fucking TV. And it was just weird. Or they'll try to mirror something while somebody's playing a card. And I've been through that already once. It's really sad to go through it again. But I am going to put up here number 1. Went to the bank to try to open up a checking account. This is already after they harassed me so badly. People were like, oh, you should just, lie and say that you're schizophrenic and crazy and get on, this or something, because they were so bad. Like, your quarters were, I don't know, they're wrapped in orange now, of course, but like your quarters, it says Harrisburg on there or whatever you call it. It's made, I think it's Pennsylvania. I don't remember, but it says Luminous on it. I mean, like, after what they did, the government tried to send me, because it's filled with stars and terrorism, it's built on myth and raw, and then the other side is you can't serve and protect, so it's really hard to separate the two. Like, cops are showing up at restaurants. Well, there was, like I said, the restaurant was robbed, but, it's really weird. It's like, you got to be able to separate this stuff so that it's not based off of, well, I can't really say anything. I mean, they already did this. I don't know what to say. I mean, they already did this to the Bible, so I'm just going to go through it anyways. Your quarters come from, like, Harrisburg or whatever. After they did what they did to me, and you couldn't, if you were pregnant, you could walk into a restaurant and stuff like that, or you can go to certain places where they use their technology, their stars and terrorisms, because this house was receiving things like as if it was a business, and they had to keep sending those things. And then finally, I think it was either Ashley or my mom picked it up and said, there's no business here, like finally screamed at them about it. Well, not screamed at them, but it's like little stuff. And I brought up those things to them about the things that were being mailed here, and they acted like they didn't correlate, but it kept happening and still didn't correlate to them. Like that generation, or how you would say type of living. So let's say, like I said, you have everything. Let's say you're one of those people that live in a house and everything. You've already had your kids, you've already lived your life, and you get weird little things for life insurance and stuff and say that you don't need it. Well, right now I'm being the generation before you or the generation after you is really being robbed of normal living, because like I said, you'll have traffickers on one side that went through the money laundering scheme, and then they'll have like one side that plays a good, oh, I work, 2 jobs and everything, and they may work 2 jobs, but they're employed and set apart where they'll only hire, let's say immigrants, because I went and tried to apply at them. I get job offers all the time. I'm stuck in freaking restaurants after they hit Buddhist, and I'm like, you guys basically said it was okay. You terrorize people through the healthcare system to the point where they're like, and even like use like, Catholic image priests on TV to jump up and say, pick up your cross and follow after me type stuff, while they're going to the hospital and being drained with this cancer stuff. You know what I mean? And then they're like, after everything they lived through with it, they're like, yeah, being Christian, but then they realize how beat down and mean that is to do to someone in that time, and they're like, they know nothing about other religions. This is why that coexist thing happened, and they know you don't. So, I mean, when people say, oh, I'm Buddhist, I'm like, I would look into that, but you're not really. You're basically one of the sides where they try to like bring you through this thing to make jobs to replace what they are screwing up or know that they screwed up. So I will go through what happened. Alright, so I went to a bank to try to open a checking account. And the person there would not take a US passport, and the person was from another country at this bank. You could tell it was like maybe Africa or something like that. Like I said, I can tell who's American. This is weird. I mean, kind of in a sense, but not always, But this is not the point here. The point is I wouldn't take it. I had my driver's license at the time, and both of them are gone. Actually, a third one. Driver's license, passport, and they wouldn't take it. Basically, they wanted BC documents. So they're trying to play this thing off of what they did in the middle of this book, the Bible, and put it into identification to BC documents, which is ridiculous. And they're all going to say, like, after my identity stuff, like I get stuff on my phone that is not me. Like I get bill collectors, of course, that call me and stuff like that. And I know that's, you consider it normal, but in the long run, think about what I said, like you can't even separate some of these people from what they see on TV, because you're just crazy, from what they normally, say should be their habit, because they try to give them as a habit. They knock regular habits that have nothing to do with your mental capabilities. Yet visually, eye alters do affect you mentally. They do. They've always have. Especially if you harass them. It's always had an effect on people. Because what one person perceives constantly is what they think is a mode, monitor, so to speak. And even though something is horrible going on, you can mirror that, while something like an eye alter is replacing it, and everything looks okay to, to people. And this is why I said you have to be careful about those things, because like when you watch TV, people love watching fashion designers, they love watching bake a cake, and all that stuff is fun and stuff like that. But let's think about it in reality. The people are just standing around judging you, right? They're not really any sort of teacher. They're judges. So every level, and they never take into account what really the individual thinks. They say something nice, but everything is a level judge. That's total black and white thinking. And I can do black and white thinking, but it's like you're not getting anywhere because you're already hitting somebody else's idea of what a judge should be. And it has nothing to do with what Jesus teaches you or anything like that. So, this event kind of takes place, and then after that, after she said no, she wouldn't take anything from the A category. She would only take it from the B, C category. And remember that whole Abraham Lincoln thing came out and free the slaves? Well, they're not from here, but they're going to free the slaves. Do you understand what I'm saying? Well, one's trafficking their own people, and the other one is having them from another country work 2 jobs, but go around and chase, natives or people around and try to get them, to be involved in their life or make them date you or something. And this is why from the last one, you had the ability to try to say no. The last one was like, like California and all that kind of stuff. You have the real ability to say no to human trafficking. I mean, you really do. And if people don't like it, it's because either they're afraid or they're on the altar thing that it's constantly all about racism. Well, some will take the hit because they know their companies are based off of racism. They will actually play that card. Like, they will literally go out and maybe shoot down a black man or something like that so that they can continue trafficking, because it's what their company is based on, and they're not even going to live forever. They're happy that you watch Stars and Terrorism, or there will be like another one that comes around and kills a couple of kids or something so that the government can get more funding for your brainwash situation. Or there'll be another one that will be like, I mean, watch for the ones that look like they don't have any of that in there, and they're really weird, But, so anyways, my BF right after that, it was like literally she was pretty much could have had the Confederate flag herself right behind her desk, because this is just after I said no to trafficking at one company. I get chased around. Nobody will hire me except for like Broadway Pizza, and this is where something that really bad happened. And then restaurant things and stuff like that. They were the only ones that would do it. Just after that, after she says no, after the bank says they won't take a U.S. passport from me, they won't take my U.S. passport from me, they'll only take BC documents. And she didn't really say anything about BC documents, but she said no to the passport. Okay. Just after that, then my boyfriend put up a Confederate flag, and he put it on the left side of it. And then after that, 4 corners type dudes, where it was like, I started working at Broadway Pizza after that. I just got out of the car thing where they're gonna take hits on people's cars and stuff like that, because they're constantly trying now to sell insurance. I worked there, and it's all robotic, it's all international, but you're just a robot. So you're gonna get a hit for a check, you're gonna get hit for what your heart believes, you're gonna get hit if it's rape, you're gonna get hit there. Go and work at the restaurants, Buddhism, bam, that's where it hit. And they used a water pressure system. This is why I know it sounds dumb, but my grandmother was adamant about smoking, because they try to play the Midian card when they try to do that, free the slaves thing. It doesn't really work. It's just a redundant cycle. It always has been that way. except for when they move new people somewhere else and they really do become like slaves, and then it becomes a legitimate argument once, you know? It's ridiculous. So he puts up a flag about that in the room. So they took a hit out on the person, and it didn't matter, you know, what kind of your heart believes or anything like that. And then they do avatars after that. Number two, he put on, just after that, he put on like a video of how his mom came over, because they're gonna run you back to your parents. They're gonna make you that fucking crazy. Number two, he put on an episode of like I think it was a guy who killed all his kids and stuff, and he killed his neighbor. It was a Halloween. He kills his neighbors on Halloween. He kills his kids, his family, and apparently, you know, it was like he was a warden at a jail. Couldn't take it anymore for whatever reason, and he had, you know, children that were both black and white, like they were mixed, and then he killed a whole bunch of like people on Halloween, and killed his neighbors too. He went over to a neighbor's house. Then the next episode he plays was like some guy in England, or or something like that, and they had all these cameras, like they're showing actual footage of this guy, but they didn't do anything about this. Supposedly he was, you know, taking people and doing cannibalism or something like that, and they did nothing about it, you know. And he specifically put those 2 episodes on, and then after that it was like the TV was coming outside the box and stuff like that, where like people were trying to talk to them through the TV and stuff like that, and get them to come over and stuff like that. So then you got the necromancy, and you have human trafficking. Whoops. And that is for real. That's where you have to put your foot down, otherwise you won't be able to protect your kids from even this unbiblical rape. And this is not a good video I'm doing about the Bible right now, because I'm going to show you where you change. I used to have another one, but now it's gotten to that point. Anyways, and so I have more on here, but I'll just basically, after, you know, he starts kind of acting weird too. He started saying stuff like mama, mama, and I was like, I don't dig that, and if you sell me off to it, I'll be pissed off, and like, you know, try to push you back. Play this card, play the bar Buddha, play the bar, do that one thing that caused so much freaking problems during kind of like after the baby boomers and stuff like that. And I was like, the whole idea shot up in their head about Nibiru's and aliens again, and nope, you're not gonna chase me around with that crap. And then the idea that because after what they did in this restaurant, and I'll go down to it, they felt like they were going to be really controlling from then. I noticed that my sister was controlling, my mother was controlling, everybody was so controlling, and they sent me fucking Harrisburg drug system in the mail. I didn't apply for anything, but I get sent this thing that I can have 80% off of drugs in the mail, and it's from Harrisburg. So I'm gonna cut it off there, because I think I only do 30 minutes or whatever at a time. But it was from Harrisburg. I get to get 80% off of drugs, just like my fucking quarters, from the government.